What's going on, good people? It's Will with Range Therapist Firearms Training, and tonight I'm going to go over belt setups. So I'm going to start with my competition rig first, and then explain how that carries over in some of the principles to what I use for concealed carry. All right, so for competition, I have a double alpha belt. It's an inner-outer belt system, so you would put this inner belt inside your belt loops and then attach the outer part around that on the outside. The advantage of that is that your mag pouches and your holster are in the same exact spot every time. I also have a magnet on the front part of my first magazine, and what that's going to do is allow me to put magazines there when I'm finished shooting, or if it's a stage where magazines are going to start on a table or on a barrel, I can quickly put a magazine on the magnet and not have to try to worry about putting it inside of a mag pouch. For concealed carry, I use two different belts. If I have belt loops, then I use the Hunter Constantine belt. It has a rigid front part, and then the back of it is just elastic. This is extremely comfortable. And when I don't have belt loops, I use a comfort concealment. So it's a similar idea in that there's a rigid portion here, but then it's going to close with Velcro and then a keeper to keep that shut. So when I go running, this is what I use. If I have on like basketball shorts or sweats, then I use this one because it stays in place a little better than the Hunter Constantine. So belt loops, Hunter Constantine, no belt loops, concealed or comfort concealment belt. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put the competition rig on, and then we'll come back and I'll explain that, and then we'll put one of these on to see how they compare and contrast. Okay, so let's go over how I have this set up and why. We're gonna start with the holster. With my holster, I have it slightly canted forward. So instead of having the gun perfectly vertical, I have it that way more. So the nose of the gun, the muzzle of the gun is slightly forward. What that does is it flattens out the back strap, especially with a Glock that they have a really aggressive grip angle. I want the back of the back strap or the back strap to be as flat as possible. That way, when I go to get my draw, I can put my hand on it and get great contact instead of having to either lean forward or break my wrist down in order to get my hand flat on the gun. So I want that flatter than having it perfectly vertical so that it's harder to get a full firing grip. Because when you get your gun out, you're gonna wanna get that out fairly quickly so that you can start scoring points. We talked about the magnet before. So if I pick up a magazine off of a table, I can just throw that there instead of trying to put it inside the mag pouch, which is gonna be a little bit slower. So if I had two magazines in my hand, I can put one there and put the other in the gun and then start scoring points. And what you might notice is that my mag pouches are angled. So I don't have them perfectly vertical. I don't have my gun perfectly vertical, and I don't have my mag pouches perfectly vertical. They're all angled to a degree, some more and some less. Reasons for that is just trying to keep a straight wrist or as straight as possible when we go to reload. Get rid of that. So if I needed to reload my gun and I'm shooting and I go to drop a mag, I'm gonna grab that mag and I can keep my wrist fairly straight, just coming right to that first mag pouch. Now, if it was more vertical, I'm gonna have to break my wrist more in order to get the mag if it was positioned this way. So having it angled is going to make it a lot easier to grab that mag. It's gonna make it a little easier for it to come out of the mag pouch as well. And then, like Trey was talking about, to get the magazine in the gun. So you'll notice that they are angled. I do have them fairly close together, but just far enough apart that I can take a mag out and not bump the other one, so I don't take one mag and then knock another one out. Typically in my division, I only need two magazines, but I am showing you that there's more, and some people might even have them all the way around towards the back, depending on the magazine capacity for the division that they compete in. So this is how I have my rig. I do like my first magazine more centered because I feel like it's faster that way versus going towards your hip more. But depending on the sport that you're in, you might need to have it outside of your hip, or personal preference can play a role in that as well. So what I'm gonna show you now is one of my concealed carry setups. I set them up the both way or the same way. So I'm just gonna show you one of them, and I'm gonna show you how I took some of these principles and then moved it over to that, since this is optimized for speed. All right, so I'm wearing belt loops, so I put the Hunter Constantine belt on. This is how I normally would conceal carry with that belt. So I'll just tuck my shirt. So you can see I do have a separate holster from my mag pouch. So I have a Vetter mag tuck, a mag pouch, and then the holster is from Teal One Concealed. It's a Zyphos. I don't like the sidecar because I put my tourniquet in between the two. So I have my gun, my tourniquet, and then I have my spare mag. And then in my pocket, I have my IFAK with chest seals and things of that nature. So I don't like the single piece because then it makes it really hard for me to run my tourniquet. I have to put it somewhere else. I don't have a lot of pocket space. So I prefer the separate items. Also, it allows me to adjust depending on what I'm wearing. I can move the gun a little more independently of the magazine. But what you'll notice is, and it's probably gonna be hard to see, is I have my magazine set up or my holster set up. So instead of it being perfectly vertical, it is slightly, there's only so much that I can angle it, but it is slightly tilted. Same thing, because I wanna try to make sure this piece of the gun right here, the back strap, is as flat as possible or as close to parallel to my belt. So I do have my mag tilted that way, so I offset my clips on my holster. What you'll also notice is with the mag pouch, I'll move this out of the way to make it more evident. It's also canted, right? So it's not perfectly vertical. Again, when I clear my shirt, I want to try to get my magazine out without breaking my wrist if at all possible. So I don't want that vertical mag pouch here. I want it canted as much as possible. It's going to make it a lot easier to get that purchase faceplate in your palm, fingers up by where the rounds are. But this is how I carry when I'm running. I don't have a spare mag, but when I'm running, if I'm just going to the store with sweatpants on, basketball shorts or whatever, I'll have the cover concealment. And then when I have belt loops, I'll have the belt from Hunter Constantine. But either way, if you have any questions between how they compare and contrast, you can see I took some of the principles from the race rig and then brought them into my everyday carry. But either way, y'all be safe.